In 1747, Walpole had chanced upon two cottages known as Chopped Straw Hall, here on the banks of the Thames in Twickenham, and he set about transforming them. "I'm going to build a little Gothic castle," he wrote to a friend, "with battlements, pinnacles, even a great round tower looming large in his vivid imagination." Walpole's Gothic castle took its vast numbers of visitors on something of a mood journey back to the Middle Ages, to ancient strongholds, knights in armour, and all the panoply of chivalry. Walpole wanted the experience to convey feelings of both gloom and warmth, and he even coined a term that conveyed both. Rather brilliantly, he called it gloomth. Walpole's Gothic castle, which he christened Strawberry Hill, stunned 18th century society. It was unlike anything else in the country and was soon to become a tourist mecca. Walpole delighted in entertaining the gentry, foreign ambassadors, and occasionally even royalty. Such was the public's demand to see Strawberry Hill and sample a bit of gloomth for themselves that Walpole had to confine it to 4 visitors a day, with published rules for their guidance, but strictly no children allowed. These are visiting cards, and they were recently discovered trapped behind the mantelpiece, and they give you a real sense of people desperate to come in and see this magnificent building. They're written on the back of old playing cards, and this one is from a tea merchant, and as it says, they will be extremely obliged to him to let them see his house at any time this morning. And the name of that tea merchant was Mrs. Twining. Perhaps unsurprisingly, living in this fantasy fortress began to rub off on Walpole, for here, one morning in 1764, he awoke from a dream in which he'd imagined himself to be in an ancient castle. Where, on a great staircase, he'd been confronted by a gigantic fist in armour. And so vivid was his dream that later that day, Walpole sat down and began to write a story based on his vision. The book that emerged, The Castle of Otranto, is now widely considered to be the very first Gothic novel, containing all the classic tropes of mystery and horror. It was an immediate success. It sold out across Europe in a matter of weeks, and it led the poet Thomas Gray to comment that it made us all afraid to go to bed at night. A clap of thunder at that instant shook the castle to its foundations. The earth rocked, and the clank of more than mortal armour was heard behind. The moment Theodore appeared, the walls of the castle behind Manfred were thrown down with a mighty force, and the form of Alfonso, dilated to an immense magnitude, appeared in the centre of the ruins. With his novel, The Castle of Otranto, and this incredible building, which he described as the prettiest bauble you ever saw, Walpole had combined both the real and the imaginary. His Gothic revival conjured a new romanticised view of the noble castle, one inhabiting both our dreams and our nightmares, and now presiding over a mythic realm.
You could conceive of Strawberry Hill as one great big folly. It inspired other landowners, other patrons, to have the confidence to build their own follies within their landscape. But this was a very desirable thing to have within your grounds. It added an air of history to your landscape, an air of always being there. But it was part of this wider lust for the past, this wider reverence for the medieval past, and a fascination with all things Gothic. But follies gave that kind of romance to your landscape. You could invite your friends, you could even attract tourists to come and see your folly.